Good morning. Today is Sunday, September 14th, 2025, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast, looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So at this point, we are mid-September. Overall, the month has been positive. If you look at it, we're on the monthly chart. It's been in a range for the past 3 months. It's gone, up in July, and then it took a downswing in August after making a new all-time high. It made a new all-time high in July too, a new all-time high in August. I think we'll see a new all-time high in September as well. But I'm looking at closing prices, open and closing prices. That's where the body is. And right now we're just kind of in the middle of this range. So we're mid-month. The overall trend is definitely up and has been for the whole month. And I think we're going to continue to see that trend to persist, especially as we now see interest rates are almost a guaranteed thing. I'm sorry, interest rate cuts are now a guaranteed thing at this point. So I think we'll just continue to see higher and higher price action as we go on throughout the month. So again, we're very much so in a range on this monthly chart after coming up from, the February and March lows, and then we just absolutely sprang up in April. So we've only had one down month since March. And March was, 6 months ago ish. So we had one down month, nothing to worry about by any means, but I think now we're just going to continue on to see on that upside. So I got a lot of charts to get through today, so I'm going to be pretty quick on the analysis. You've seen your ranges. It's actually very interesting to see how you see these ranges and then lift off periods. On the weekly chart, we're very high above the 50-week moving average, the 100-week moving average, and the 200-week moving average. And now we'll look at the charts, right? I said that we would not get below 108,000, and we really did not get below 108,000. We saw a strong bounce off, and now we are just continuing on to sales to the upside. The other thing that I see is that we are now outside of this range. We did get outside of the range on this candle here, but it did just slam back down. So that was like a test, and then it couldn't do it. You made that all-time high. But now I think we're kind of at the bottom of this range to where we've had multi-weeks to this, and now we're just going to continue to see probably, again, 130 definitely before the end of October. But it just looks like we're in sailing periods now. So I don't need to talk about all this. We're really focused on the here and now. So, the short-term holder realized price, I think that's actually gone up a little bit. I didn't update it just yet, but we see that the short-term holder realized price is a very strong level for Bitcoin. Also, this line that I've been talking about, this is a strong retest, and now we're just continuing on to the upside. You could see a little bit of resistance here because there was some imbalance that was cleared up. So if we see another little dip before we actually rip, that's fine. I don't have any issue with that. But what I do see is that this was a very strong level around 108, and we just really didn't violate that. We went down to a low of 107. So, a little bit below 108, but I knew like the kind of area. I'm not generally looking for an exact price, but I'm looking for an area where things will turn around. So, shooting off to the upside, I think that's going to be sustained. Let's look at the daily. The daily, we sunk below the 100-day moving average. And, I'm looking at the areas, right? This area was a consolidation area, then we bounced off, and now we just continue to sail onto the upside. So this is a pretty good week for Bitcoin, actually. So from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you just saw a continued uptrend, and actually even from Sunday. There was a pretty Monday, Tuesday was a little bit down, and then, now we're back up above this 150-day moving average. We're above everything. Couldn't even get down to the 200-day moving average, which is 104. So that tells me, hey, we've got a little bit of time. So I don't know when the last time we actually hit the 200-day moving average was. I think it was April in tariffs, and that was actually coming from February. So this is extreme price action, I would say. Just going into that, you hit it during this period of range and consolidation after the election, but that was the first time we had hit it. I think now we're just really on to a sailing period, and where I don't think we'll really see any more hold up until we get to around 130. So I think that's pretty much it for the chart. So maybe one more retest of this level right here at 110, perhaps one more, and then we'll go up to the upside and just continue on there, especially if we get rate cuts this week, which I think we will. And let's look at that in a second here. So, but overall, the direction and the general trend is up. Federal funds rate. Okay, so this is economic news. Your release comes out. So Sunday, Monday, nothing. Tuesday, core retail sales and retail sales, nothing really much there. They expect a drop in retail sales and increase in your core retail. The big boy this week is going to be your federal funds rate. Federal funds rate is going to be what was actually driving a lot of price action. So, we had pretty much 0% interest rates since COVID. COVID. Then you had a huge runoff of interest rates, huge interest rate hikes all the way up to about 5.5% for the federal funds rate. And then, we started cutting rates. But now there's been about a almost 9 month pause on cutting interest rates. And now I think we're going to see that resume for the foreseeable, not the foreseeable future, but for at least the next 6 months. So I mean, we're at 4.5% right now. I think we could get down to about 3%. Even if we get back down to previous levels around 2.5, but I think 3.5% is reasonable. 3% is reasonable for us to get back down to the next 6 to 9 months. If they continue to cut these rates and whatnot, that'll cause inflation to run a little bit hot, but we'll see how that ends up playing out. But yes, I mean, even looking at the forecast, right? The forecast is saying that we're at 4.5. Right now we're at 4.5%. 4.25% is the forecast. So, I just think it's almost inevitable at this point that we're going to see the interest rate cuts. The question isn't if we're going to get them; it's more so of how big is the cut going to be? Is it going to be 25 basis points or is it going to be 50 basis points? We have yet to see. And that's obviously the biggest thing that has been for months. Like, what are the interest rates going to be? The other one that I've been looking at Japan for quite a while. They seem as though they're going to hold interest rates at either 0.5%, not hiking at all. They're definitely not cutting, but it seems like they're going to have another pause. So maybe they get another hike before the end of the year. We'll see, but that's yet to be determined. So the two big ones this week are the Japanese interest rates and the U.S. Fed interest rate. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm pretty optimistic. The next thing, and I'm going to kind of zoom through these charts, is I just want to really touch on the fact that Bitcoin is in such a neutral, if not positive, position relative to where it's been historically. And we just haven't seen this to where it's been in such a neutral position for so long. So I'm going to go through probably about 10 different charts in the next, 5 to 10 minutes. And we're just going to take a look and see what's ahead on the forecast, right? So this is Bitcoin Magazine Pro. I really actually like their site because they have a lot of different charts that you can go through for Bitcoin and see what is it relative to these different metrics. So these forecast tools, at least, let me see. You got your top cap, delta top, terminal price, and then these are your floor prices too. Your coin value date is destroyed and all this other stuff. So right now we see, I'm looking at the black line. The black line says we're right in the middle of all these lines. So the top is saying we're at about 257, bottom saying we're at 40. We're never going to hit 40. 257, that's reasonable. But what I'm looking at is that we've been thoroughly in the middle. Like, we haven't gone overheated and we haven't gone we haven't gone cold either. So, in the past, we've hit these tops and hit these tops and hit these tops, and then we've hit these bottoms and hit these bottoms and hit these bottoms, so on and so forth. We just haven't done that here. We haven't done that here really for about a year or so. We've been very, very neutral this entire time. So what that tells me is that across several metrics, this is still a great time to buy, because the downside is almost capped at this point, but the upside is still very high, especially with the economic environment that we're in. It's only going to get better. So I told you I'm going to look at these pretty quickly because there's quite a few of them. Let's look at it. Bitcoin price in rainbow chart. This is we're looking, up here is overheated, down here is like a fire sale. It's very on sale. Right now we are in the range of accumulate. This green range right here. So hey, you should still be buying Bitcoin. Let's look at the next one. 200-week moving average. So if it's not red, it's not. If it ain't red, it ain't dead. So it's at this point, the 200-week moving average is still very in a cool range. Like it's down here on this level. It's not overheated by any means. So what that tells me is that, hey, this is still a decent time to buy Bitcoin, and it has been. This is the best time, obviously, but you see, this is still the same color. This is still the same color. That 200-week moving average has pretty much moved in lockstep. Bitcoin has not outpaced that 200-week moving average just yet. and maybe it will in the future. But right now, I think there's a sufficient amount of buying and selling that stops it from just going overboard. Let's look at the next one. I want to say this is the golden ratio multiplier. So this is what is this based off of? It's based off pi and Fibonacci and all that, but we see that this orange line is kind of like your floor and your floor, your red and your green, that's your ceiling, and so on and so forth. So we see we're not getting up here. We got up here in the past. We just haven't got up here. We haven't even gotten above the red line just yet. And that was March of 2024. That was the peak where we hit that red line. But now we hit the green line. And, it's just gotten so muted at this point. But overall, we still see that the trajectory is up. So in my mind, this is where you're almost looking at floor prices here with this moving on the upside. So again, still a great time to accumulate. Let's look at the fear and greed index. We are super neutral on fear and greed, 55 out of 100. And we see we're not seeing the, 90 is super greed. We saw that one time in late 2024. Again, this is right post-election. But ever since then, you had some big fear periods, 24. Yeah, kind of yellow and whatnot, but it's been very muted for the past, 4 months. We've been very much so in this middle range for the last 4 months and whatnot. So Bitcoin fear and greed index. What about the pi cycle type top indicator? This is a very easy one. Once you get above here, the top is actually once these lines cross. So once the green and the orange line cross, that's your top. Green and the orange lines cross right here, that's your top. And that's what this red line indicates. Green, your orange lines cross, that's your top. We're not even close to crossing this yet. We're not even close to crossing. So the right now that's predicting a 192 Bitcoin. Before it crosses, and then as it crosses, this line moves up as well. So I really think it's about 250 before you start seeing some type of top. But then we also have to talk about what is the concept of a top. Like right here, you have a top, and then it continues to swing down. You had a top, and then you had this continued swing down. You had a top, and then it just continued to swing down, so on and so forth. I don't think we're going to see that anymore. I think we'll almost see just a more sustained upward price action than we do, seeing these major blow-off tops and then these major sell-off points. And then these major blow-off tops and major sell-off points. Major blow-off tops and major sell-off points. The Bitcoin, the HODL ratio, you see this is very neutral, super neutral. This is a Bitcoin mining metric. Look at the next one. The reserve risk, Bitcoin reserve risk. I talked about this a little bit a while ago. You see, obviously, this is the way we read this. If it's in the green zone, hey, good time to buy. Red zone, it's probably around the top. You see that this was the top right here. Red zone, boom. And then you see the top here, boom, red zone, red zone, red zone. But now we're still in the green after all this time, after almost over 3 years. Over 3 years we've been in this green zone. So what it tells me is still a great time to buy Bitcoin. It's still a great time to accumulate. What about the MVRV score? So this is actually a minor metric. The market value versus the realized value. This is actually not a minor metric. So let's take a look here. So I mean, again, same concept. Green is good time to buy. Red is hey, you probably need to be selling. Here was your top. Here was your top. Here was your top. Here was your top. All in the red zone. Your bottom. Here was your bottom. Your bottom is somewhere right here. Here's your bottom. Here's your bottom. That's your bottom right here. Here's your bottom. So right now, we're still in a pretty good range to go ahead and buy, to where, hey, worst case, it drops back down, and then it's an even better position to buy. If it raises back up, all right, well, hey, maybe we sell here. But again, I said I think that we're going to start seeing just a more continued, slower uptrend versus these massive upswings like we saw in the past, and these massive sell-offs, and these massive upswings and massive sell-offs. It's just going to be more a slower uptrend, but overall, I think that's a sign of maturity of an asset. And so that's a good thing. It's a good thing overall to see something like that, as opposed to seeing these massive sell-offs. Because this, I mean, I don't know if people were around in late 2021 and all through 2022, but this was brutal. This was brutal, and this got a lot of people out of the market for a long time. But now, we've seen this sustain. So a lot of people missed all this upswing right here. I started talking about Bitcoin right around this period, because I really did see this. Okay, this is breaking back up to the upside, but a lot of people missed this just because of the fact that we had just gone through such a brutal period that people truly lost hope in Bitcoin. But overall, it's still in a great position. Let's talk about the next one, PUL multiplier. This actually is a Bitcoin miner metric. It's still very neutral, super neutral. We're not, it's not in the green territory, but it's also not in the red territory by any means. We're still very neutral. So, and then the last thing, the power law. This is actually a pretty good one, and absolutely shows a sign of maturity here. We see that this is closing in, right? You had a wide base down here, and then it just continues to close in at this point. What I'm seeing is this. What I'm seeing is the fact that from the bottom here, we hit this line, this central line. What are we calling this? This is your model price. This is the actual model price is your orange line, and then your red is the ceiling, and then your blue is the floor. So at this point, the top price you're looking at 460. The bottom price you're looking at about 50,000. And again, this is a logarithmic chart that we're looking at. But the model price is saying that, hey, if we continue on, you're going to hit 250 somewhere in 2028. Now, I think we're going to actually exceed that by a long shot. I mean, we're in late 2025 right now. I think we will revisit these higher levels, maybe not the actual red line, but, even getting up to 250 and 300 within the next year, I think is more than feasible. But you see at this point, it's very much so hugged the model price. So all that's telling me at this point is like, hey, this is going to go up precipitously. Now, the thought that we're going to be at 104 and 110 in 2028, I think to me is a little bit silly because number one, that's a halving year, and number two, at this point, we can barely breach 100K now, and the demand is growing. The supply is shrinking. The supply will shrink even more by late 2028. And actually, this probably is right around when the halving will be in April 30th of 2028. So I say all that to say this is still a great time to buy Bitcoin. You're not going to get those massive 10x or 17x's anymore. But, if you have a guaranteed double of your money in the next, and I don't make guarantees, right? But this is about as close to a guarantee as I can make. If you have a guaranteed double of your money in an asset that is globally recognized at this point, I think it's a good bet. I mean, for me personally, I'm putting as much money as I can behind this thing, and that's nothing that you have to follow. But what I am saying is it's about one of the safest bets I think that we have in the market at this point. Looking at things like the NASDAQ, looking at things like gold, which I really do admire at this point. Gold is going to do great things over the next 10 years, but so will Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to do great things over the next, the coming years. So I think probably within the next 5 to 7 years, you will see Bitcoin hit $1 million. And that's not exaggeration either. You'll see it hit $1 million, and right now we're at 100K. So think about when I speak about this right now on September 14th, 2025, we're at roughly $110,000. $1 million is a 10x over a 5 to 7 year period. 10x over a 5 to 7 year period, and let's say you have 100K. Okay, well now you're up $1 million in 5 to 10 years. So you don't see those type of returns often. You really don't, especially in something as solid as Bitcoin has proved itself to be. I mean, if you just look at this has been an uptrend. So, we're at 18 minutes right now. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. But, that's really all I'm saying is that at this point, we've really seen great things out of Bitcoin. And right now, it's still a good time to buy. Despite it still being at 100K, we're still at a fantastic time to buy for Bitcoin. So I hope you guys take advantage. I really do. I think we're going to see great things over the coming months and coming years. So other than that, y'all, I don't have too much to say. So this has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out a crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.